I think I've been in survival mode the minute I walked into medical school. And it's not something that you realize. And in fact, I believe the culture of becoming a doctor is a culture that makes you think that the busier you are, the more complex your life becomes, the more you're going to thrive on that. But there came a point in my life personally where that started to give me a lot of personal health issues. And when I was finishing up medical school, I actually became very ill. And I was very disillusioned at the time because the medicine that I was studying was providing no solution for me to get better. In fact, the more I tried the conventional model solutions, the worse that I felt. And it prompted me to think differently and to seek things that would make me feel better that I wasn't learning in a conventional style of medicine. So for a very long time, I have walked the talk. I have now become a functional medicine physician, and despite me knowing a lot about functional medicine, nutrition, exercise, I don't think I've ever really recovered from life on survival mode. I've been living on hormones of stress, and though I've managed to keep it under control, new health events started to happen along my life. And this whole world epidemic that's been going on for the last 2 years or so has been the last straw. How could I help patients coming to me who were already living very stressful situations themselves? How could I provide them proper health care, support, administration if I wasn't at the top of my game? How do you get better once you think you already know a lot about your health when you're a practicing functional medicine physician? In the midst of the pandemic, I was starting to lose joy of my profession. And something that started to happen to me was questioning whether I wanted to continue practicing medicine, period. That internal struggle caused an adverse health outcome for me. I had severe hair loss, scary hair loss. Every time I brushed my hair, I would lose hundreds of pieces. It's hard for me to talk about today because it was that scary. But something in me knew that was temporary and that I was going to be able to overcome the circumstances that caused me to have that hair loss. So I decided to do some research, and I found a program that was going to help me understand the science, the neuroscience behind changing your mind to get you out of the hormones of stress, get me out of that survival, which we call fight or flight response, get my sympathetic nervous system back in balance so that I have good autonomic control. And I met this wonderful person at a conference, and I decided to jump right in. I took Neuroscience Solutions course, and it has changed my life in more ways than one. In less than 3 months' time, I was able to stop my hair loss. My hair started to grow again, and I've pretty much recuperated everything that I had lost. I finally comprehended that I cannot let people or the environment dictate how I feel about my life. I can't change others, I can't change circumstances around me, but I can change how I think about things. I can change my actions and my behaviors, and that in itself is going to help me feel differently about whatever is happening in my life. When you present with a physical symptom, more than likely you weren't born that way. So you usually have what I like to call a toxic trigger. It's either a spiritual toxicity, an emotional toxicity, or a physical toxicity. And I explore each and every single one of those topics with my patients. I have simple solutions if the cause is physical. We go after detoxification, changing nutrition, improve sedentary lifestyles. But how can I make a change when somebody's undergoing some kind of emotional, spiritual toxicity in their life? Before, when I used to introduce topics of meditation, mindfulness, mindful practices, most patients would be like, well, what's that and how do I do it? I was lacking the tools to teach my patients how to make those types of transformations in their life. Now, I can actually present scientific evidence to them about how the hormones of stress from their emotional circumstances are triggering changes in their brain that make them susceptible and programmable to continue living a state of continuous fear, anxiety, which will only exacerbate their symptoms. So even though there may not be a lion in the savannah in front of them, they're easily triggered. And now, when I have gone back into my practice, sat down, and applied the science of the changes in our brain and how programmed we have become by our environment, people are now listening, and they're more motivated to producing these types of changes in their own life. I learned to be creative. I learned to think outside of the box. I learned to basically change my outlook. And if I feel better about who I am, then of course, I'm now going to be in a better position to help my patients. The last 2 years, the types of patients that are coming to me are scared. My colleagues are just as scared because there's a division of opinion of how to treat people during the pandemic. Doctors have one set of belief system, other doctors have another set of belief systems. This confuses patients. So the patients that come in, they don't know who to believe. Now they're scared for their life. Any pre-existing healthcare situation they were experiencing has now been exacerbated to the maximum potential. So we're becoming a sicker society. This needs to stop. So I feel so empowered because I saw changes in me. Not only do I want to share about how I can help patients, but I now want to go into the community of doctors, community of healthcare workers in general, nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, frontline workers, and tell them that we no longer have to worry about living in that fight or flight response. We have a wonderful solution, and it starts with change within our own selves.